The polite way of saying, no thanks, I like my legs in one piece. Let's be honest right from the start. The headline, why Remco Evenepoel doesn't want Giro d'Italia in his 26 calendar, is already the most understandable thing that he's ever done, because if you asked 100 cyclists whether the Giro should be added voluntary to their schedule, exactly 100 of them would say, are you insane? And that includes cyclists who have actually won the Giro. The Giro is not a race, it's a yearly act of voluntary self-endangerment. It's the sporting equivalent of saying, yes please, I'd like more punishment, throw in some hailstorms, maybe a snowbank, and a landslide. But of course, Remco can't say that publicly. He can't walk into a press conference and announce, I'm skipping the Giro because I value my sanity, bones, and my ability to stand upright without shaking. Instead, he goes for the diplomatic athlete version. Oh, we're still evaluating the calendar. It depends on the route. We'll take a step back and decide logically. Translation: no way I'm doing 4,000 meters of climbing before breakfast just because Italy thinks mountains are cute. But to understand why Remco is flirting so heavily with the idea of not going to the Giro in 2026, emphasis on flirting, because he hasn't outright rejected it, he's just slowly backing away from it the way that you back away from a bear. You have to understand the psychological soup that he's currently marinating in. New team, new expectations, new pressure, and a big And that is exactly the centre of this entire circus. See, Remco's move to Red Bull wasn't just a transfer, it was a declaration. It was like a sign that he was going against mediocrity, against the people who doubted him, the ones who held him down, against the fans who said that he had peaked too early, and against anyone who dared to believe that Tadej Pogačar and Jonas Vingegaard were the only two cyclists who mattered in this world. Remco didn't change teams so he could go spend 3 miserable weeks riding freezing pink walls in Italy. He changed dreams, he changed teams, because he wants the Tour de France to become his personal playground, and everyone watching this video knows that that's his main goal. The last thing you do when your number one goal is a perfect Tour de France performance is, checks notes, throws the Giro into your calendar like a chaotic side quest that drains 47% of your soul and 89% of your glycogen. But it gets even better, because apparently the 2026 Giro route is giving off I dare you kind of energy. There are rumours swirling around that the organisers want a route that's specifically designed to destroy the ambitions of anyone who thinks that they can double it with the Tour. Steep climbs, cold stages, endless altitude, the kind of gradient that makes stationary bikes look like flat terrains. The Giro is allergic to easy solutions, and if ASO is Disneyland, RCS is the Hunger Games. Remco is looking at all of this with the expression of a man pretending to consider dessert even though he's already full after eating dinner. Now let's address the other key elements in this story. Remco's physiology. Everyone knows that he's not built like your standard boring GC robot. He's explosive, he's dangerous, he's a walking VO2 max show. And that is great, unless you want to survive 30 consecutive days of Italian mountain trauma. His body responds to intensity, kind of like a Ferrari engine would if you put your foot down, which is beautiful, powerful, and spectacular, but very needy when it comes to maintenance. Meanwhile, the Giro is basically, welcome to Italy. Here's a blizzard, here's a descent with a 200-meter cliff, and here's a climb so vertical that you'll need to send your power meters thoughts and prayers. Remco knows this, you know this, everyone knows this, and the sponsors absolutely know this. Because if there's anything major sponsors don't like, it's spending millions on a rider just to watch him slide down a snow-covered hill on a national television show. The Giro is wonderful for viewers, but it's terrible for business plans. But the juiciest part of this story, the part that makes this a YouTube video worth clicking, is the simple fact that Remco wants to be fresh for the Tour. Not just fresh, he wants to be scarily prepared, perfectly tuned, and unbreakably efficient. After all, this is the kid who has been compared to Pogačar and Vingegaard so many times that he's probably sick of being called the next something. So yes, strategically skipping the Giro isn't laziness, it's actually ambition in my opinion. And here's the fun part. Remco hasn't said that he won't do the Giro, he's just strongly hinting that he has better things to do than chain himself to a 5-hour mountain stage while freezing to death sometime around mid-May. The Giro is practically asking riders, do you want to sacrifice your legs before the biggest race of your life? And Remco is politely replying, thanks so much for the invitation to ruin my tour, I will meditate upon it. The second reason that he's clearly leaning away from the Giro in 2026 is that the Tour is about legacy. The Giro, to me, it's more about suffering. And cycling history has proven that you cannot serve two masters. The Giro and Tour double sounds romantic until you realise that romance dies at 18% gradients. Remember, Remco is playing chess and the Giro is offering him checkers. The real reasons, pressure, physiology, and the fear of what if I actually win? Now let's be clear, riders don't admit this publicly, but the physiological pressure of being Remco Evenepoel is already absurd. Every time he touches a bike, the cycling world collectively leans forward and whispers, is this the moment that he destroys the universe? Fans demand fireworks, sponsors want trophies, journalists want drama, and Remco's new team, well, they want results on the highest possible stage. Paris, July, yellow jerseys, full stop. So filling his 26 calendar with the Giro, the single most destructive bike race in the human endocrine system, is like trying to train for a marathon by running the Sahara the week before. It's the kind of idea only someone who has never touched a bicycle would possibly think makes sense. But here's the plot twist. Remco's team did consider it. So they put Giro options on the table. They wrote out 2 full race programs for him, one including the Giro Tour double and another where he skips it. And the more existence of those 2 programs has driven journalists, fans and theorists into a frenzy. So now everyone wants to know, why is Remco hesitant? Let's explore the real reasons. I think number 1 is because the Giro has trauma energy. There's just no rider alive who has escaped the Giro without a horror story. Illness, hypothermia, time loss, crashes, dragging yourself up slopes that should require mountaineering ropes. Remco is many things. Brave, aggressive, ambitious, but he is not stupid. He knows that attempting a Giro Tour double is basically asking the universe to test him, and the universe has tested him too many times already. The man needs a break. The second reason is because his team wants the Tour and only the Tour. Red Bull they didn't pay a fortune for Remco so they could watch him win pink while arriving at the Tour looking like a microwaved version of himself. The Tour de France is a holy grail. The Giro is the thrilling but problematic side relationship. I want to hear your opinions on all this. Drop down below in the comment section and type out what you think. Leave a like on this video for good luck to let me know exactly what you also think, and I'm super interested what decision they finally make. This news broke recently, I wanted to share it with you guys and give my opinion. Subscribe to the channel for all of the latest cycling news and drama.